deeply grateful. Good evening to all of you. A wonderful evening it is. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful to Mary Swift for the invitation to be with you again this year at the Presentation Ball. And with her and with all of you, I thank again Deborah Lanigan and the co-chairs, Margaret Flynn and Mayako Iso, because you can't put on something like this without great leadership. And it's been put on year after year because of great leadership and because there are young people who are generous enough to be concerned about others, particularly the young women represented every year are so concerned about women and children in our society. And that is consistent, of course, with the purpose. So even though each year the characters, in a sense, come and go, the purpose is always the same. The purpose unites everyone in this marvelous club for 92 years. I thank you for being faithful to that purpose, because you are concerned not only with individuals, individual women, individual children, but also with the social conditions that sometimes leave women isolated and leave children without support. You do an awful lot, not only to help the young ladies become responsible citizens, but also through their help, their work with the women and children, to teach them too how to become responsible, how to continue, so that eventually, with God's help, the society will be able to care adequately for all its members. Particularly what was done this summer at Heather's house and at the Catholic Charities Good Shepherd's house shows again the link between the Illinois Catholic Women's Club and the concerns of Catholic Charities. Sometimes we remind people that 1 out of every 3 citizens in the city of Chicago is a client of Catholic Charities of the Archdiocese of Chicago. It says a great deal about the generosity of Chicago Catholics, and I've never been disappointed in calling on that generosity. We're here tonight because you're generous, and I thank you. It also, however, still says a great deal about the inadequacy of the safety net for the poorest of the poor. And so Catholic Charities continues, and this club continues not only to honor young women in appropriate ways, but also to train them to take responsibility for others in our society. So for all of this, which is totally consistent with the gospel of Christ, I'm extraordinarily grateful. I'd like to end it with just a word about Pope Francis. A couple people asked me about him. You know, you can say a lot of things about the Pope so far. We'll see. He was elected because we needed somebody who could govern, because the governance of the Roman Curia was in some disarray. And he's a man who most of his priesthood has been in charge either of a diocese or his own religious province. And so he could govern. And secondly, we were looking for someone who had a heart for the poor, and he certainly has that. But what we weren't exactly expecting was this personality change that took place after he was elected to the Bishop of Rome. He was always a kind of subdued, dour man in Buenos Aires. He never trusted the press, never gave interviews, was very quiet. And all of a sudden, he was reaching out in such a way that the imagination of the world is captured. And I think about that. Why has he captured the imagination of the world? And I think it's basically because he's free. He's in a tradition-bound office, 2,000 years, far older than any nation state, and it will be around when there are no more nation states. Never quite fits. The gospel and the kingdom of God never quite fit into the kingdom of this world. There will always be tensions. But nonetheless, he shows us how in the midst of tensions, in the midst of great responsibilities, you can be free if you accept freedom as a gift. I think that's my prayer for the young women, and I'm sure it's yours as well, that they be free, not just externally free, political freedom, but far more important, internal freedom. And they're not consumed by anything other than the love of God and the love of their neighbor in such a way that they too will give witness to the world as Pope Francis does, how to live as a free disciple of Jesus Christ. That's what I think is the most important lesson we have in looking at the Pope. He's a free man, and he invites us to that same freedom, and therefore to be joyful, especially in this Christmas season. My prayer for you tonight is that the Christmas season will be joyful for you, and that in the celebration of Christ's birth, you will strengthen once again your internal freedom, freedom which is a gift, not control, freedom. And that is something that he comes to give us, Christ died